there. Welcome again to the Keith Noble Show, brought to you by Auto Chicks and the Nobles Financial Network. So we're going to talk about our fiscal and monetary situation again today. Federal government ran a $3.1 trillion deficit this year. The fiscal year just ended. $3.1 trillion. It's not that long ago, the entire budget was not $3 trillion. Now we have a $3.1 trillion deficit. And they anticipate next year will be a $3.5 trillion deficit. We're now at 150% of GDP for the federal debt. Assuming GDP comes back, big assumption, since they count federal government spending now in GDP. So the actual GDP, actual productive things being done, is a lot less than it might appear on paper. This is a problem. We're running down a hole here that is going to be incredibly painful to get out of. Now, the Federal Reserve, not too long ago, came out and said that they anticipate they'll have to start buying federal debt from the federal government, because they think that the amount of federal debt out there has now exceeded the market demand for federal debt. That is, that the amount of debt the federal government has out there is now more than there's a market to buy, a market to absorb. It's important to understand that about 80% of federal debt is in 2-year notes. So it rolls over about 40% every year that comes up. That has to be basically refinanced, because we never pay off any debt. We just refinance it and roll it over. So you're talking $11 trillion next year, maybe more, that the government has to find people to lend them, to keep it all going, not to default. And of course, the Federal Reserve thinks that there's not $11 trillion out there to buy that debt, that they're going to have to step in and buy. Well, the question begs, how long can the Federal Reserve buy our debt? How long can we just monetize the debt? Can we just have the Federal Reserve produce liquidity to buy our debt with? Well, if history, math, and economics is any indication, probably not that long. So there's a reckoning out there. You should prepare for that reckoning. You should understand that reckoning. Now, people like Joe Biden, if he ends up being president, is promising shutdowns and all kinds of things that will impair the economy. And without a doubt, they will make that up by sending out checks to people, sending out checks to businesses. It's what they do. Here in Colorado, the governor wants to have a special session to send out stimulus because he is shutting down bars and restaurants again. You just can't keep doing this. It's unfair. It's stealing from our children and our grandchildren. We have this weird concept of self-absorption that we should be able to spend money that's not ours. It's sometimes societies just collectively go insane. This is the tangible evidence of our insanity. There's a reckoning out there. There are some smart people. Lance Roberts, for example, who thinks whoever wins this presidential election, whenever that's decided, is actually going to be the loser, because somebody in the next presidential administration, be it Harris or Biden or Trump, is going to have to deal with this, and it's going to be painful, and it's going to be ugly, and they're going to have to tell the American people things the American people do not want to hear. But we need to keep on top of this. We need to be aware of this. We need to understand this. We can't just keep stealing from our children. We can't just keep relying on the Federal Reserve to produce ever more liquidity at near 0% interest so we can keep funding whatever our fantasies are that we want to fund. It's not how the world works, not how the world has ever worked. And if the world could work this way, people would have figured it out hundreds or thousands of years ago. We are by no means the best and the brightest. So, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.